end. The question is, how do you live? And being in fear all the time is it's a bad thing.
No. In the long slide toward permanent recriminations against those with whom you disagree in today's society. I mean, you and I kind of came of age in media when you could debate other people. I mean, you debated and it was, but now it's you're a horrible, awful, rotten, racist person who wants everyone to get COVID unless you believe in vaccine mandates for everyone. That's how it is, just that aspect.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, I just had to reread 30 years of magazine pieces I had written and I had a contract with Simon & Schuster to do this book at exactly the moment they were canceling Josh Hawley's book because he cast a vote they didn't like, which had a lot of precedent in previous elections. And I just thought this crystallizes the change. So book publishers stood up for people's freedom of speech for generations. And now Jonathan Karp, who runs Simon & Schuster, and I read all about this in the book, published by Simon & Schuster, is openly defending censorship because the Democratic Party has demanded it. And I thought that really is, that's the moment distilled right there. A publisher pushing censorship. It just blows my mind.
And Tucker, I want to get to some other stories that speak of some of the erosion of our basic freedoms. In the United States, we haven't seen yet the type of kind of brutal enforcement of kind of a medical dictatorship that you're beginning to see in France. And in France, police are now going table to table to these outdoor restaurants, checking for people's health passes. I think you and I were mocked last year for saying that this was what the left ultimately wanted to have happen here.
Right.
Do you agree that that's ultimately what they would prefer to happen here?
Well, of course. I mean, of course. But I mean, you wonder, why would it stop with COVID? I mean, why not HIV patients or people with hepatitis or any transmissible disease? I mean, right, there's a principle here, which is that your health status has to remain private. The government doesn't have a right to force you to take medicine you don't want or need, and that you have a right to keep private, your own health condition. And when we give that up, I mean, you're looking at a brand new country. And the French are fighting back against it, as you know. I don't think their testosterone levels have been lowered to quite the levels of ours by bad food or whatever, but they are definitely, huge numbers of people are pushing back against this in the form of protest nationwide in France. You're not seeing that here. You wonder how far they can go before people say, I'm not against vaccines. I obviously want to get COVID under control, but you can't force me to take a medicine I don't want. If you can do that, why can't you sterilize me or lobotomy? Well, what can't you do to me if you own my body? That's a totally fair question. Why is no one asking it?
Liberals used to believe in all that. And I guess it all depends. Tucker, congrats on the book, The Long Slide, Destined for Number One-dom. And I'm glad you're back. You're not announcing a change of residency to Hungary, right? You're actually here for a while.
Are you kidding? I'm incorrigibly American, but thank you.
All right, great to see you. Congrats, Tucker. Everyone out and go to tuckercarlson.com. You can buy a copy of the book and even order a signed copy by Tucker himself. And coming up, why are prominent doctors downplaying natural immunity? We're going to explore that next. Plus, Indiana University students have filed an appeal with the Supreme Court over vaccine requirements this fall. One of those students and her lawyer are here in moments. Stay there.
Do you have trouble hearing conversations? Are you constantly asking loved ones to repeat themselves? Do you miss out on discussions or talking with friends? Then you would benefit from nano hearing aids. Don't waste thousands of dollars on
You listen to what Dr. Fauci's saying. Though the surge, you're hearing about in the U.S. has produced 33 cases for every 100,000 people. Iceland, though, is right behind us at 29. The Director General of Iceland's Ministry of Health telling Reuters, since July 9th, 77% of domestic infections were among vaccinated individuals. It's the kind of data that should have every doctor in the country screaming natural immunity, but instead, well, we get this.
A previous infection does confer some degree of immunity, certainly. The big question is it as good as having been vaccinated, and is it as durable? And I think almost all the evidence at this point is very clear that having been previously infected is not going to give you the same level of protection as being fully vaccinated. So
Okay, that is false. Here now is Dr. Peter McCullough, internist cardiologist. an epidemiologist. Dr. McCullough, okay, first of all, is he correct in what he just said about the natural immunity?
I respectfully disagree, and I think most Americans would as well. We know that COVID-19 is one and done, that natural immunity is robust, complete, and durable. And, you know, up until May 1st, the CDC had reported 10,000 vaccine failures, fully 10,000 of them. 9% were hospitalized, 3% died. During that time period, the CDC did not record a single failure of natural immunity.
Well, one of the health ministers in Iceland basically said in response to this data that, you know, at this point, everyone's just going to have to get exposed to the virus, and we're going to have to deal with it, the rest of it, through natural immunity to herd immunity. So that's what they seem to be coming to. Not that they're anti-vaccine, they're not at all, but it only can go so far.
Well, Iceland has 330,000 people, and they've done a terrific job with treatment. They've only had 30 deaths. But you're right, the explosion of cases they've seen in the last few weeks has really been in the setting of getting to nearly fully vaccinated. It went up 5 to 10-fold. So it's almost as if the vaccine invited this explosion of cases.
Oh, now, I also remember, Dr. McCullough, when COVID restrictions were not about eliminating the virus altogether. It never was, right? It was about not overwhelming the healthcare system. So I want to show you this chart, and this is from Johns Hopkins. We don't exactly have an ICU bed capacity problem. So what is this that we're hearing about? We're hearing about overwhelmed hospitals, but the ICUs, is that a problem?
No, not that I can see. I think we have this part of the outbreak fully handled with early treatment. Early treatment's taken a huge impact now. We know that the mortality rate with Delta variant, if it's well treated, is the lowest mortality of any of the variants we've seen. Hospitalization rates are controllable. The only people really being hospitalized are those who have gotten no early treatment and are presenting at, with high-risk features. Very importantly, we're probably at the peak of this outbreak now. UK and Israel looks like they've hit the apex and are on the other side. So I think we're just the next few days going to get on the other side of this.
Dr. McCullough, thank you. Great to see you tonight, as always. And nearly 600 colleges across the country are now requiring everyone to get the COVID vaccine before even stepping foot on campus. But some students, even some faculty, are fighting back. A group of 8 students are suing Indiana University over its mandate, saying it violates their constitutional rights. A federal judge, though, smacked it down last month, and last week his ruling was upheld by an appeals court that wrote, "People who do not want to be vaccinated may go elsewhere." Now, classes start in exactly 2 weeks, leaving these students in limbo. Now, their case is in the hands of the Supreme Court. Joining me now is Jamie Carini, one of the students suing, and Jim Bopp, Jamie's attorney. Jamie, what's your plan? I clerked at the court years ago. They don't accept many cases on certiorari, and they don't accept many emergency appeals. 2 weeks is a short period of time. What next?
I mean, my plan is to wait and see what the Supreme Court says. And my hope is that they do rule in our favor. That will certainly make my decision a lot easier in the upcoming weeks. But for now, I'm going to sit tight and see what happens.
Jim, this is an uphill battle because of one case, the Jacobson case. A lot of Americans, they don't sit around reading Supreme Court slip opinions or opinions, and so they don't really know what's in that case. How would you distinguish that old case that came long before so many of the modern therapies and so forth? How would you distinguish that case at the court?
Well, that 1905 case was at the height of the progressive era, where, of course, the progressives wanted to give total authority to healthcare professionals to make these kinds of decisions. And that decision reflected it. But from a legal standpoint, and by the way, that case led directly to the most horrifying decision, certainly one of them, in the Supreme Court's history, which is Buck v. Bell, where they said that 3 generations of imbeciles was enough, and thereby approved the forced sterilization of Buck because of the decision allowing forced vaccination. you know, much has changed in terms of constitutional jurisprudence over the last 50 years. The Supreme Court has recognized a very robust right of bodily integrity and autonomy, and importantly here, medical treatment choice, starting with Cruzan, where it was a medical treatment decision by an incompetent patient, to forced involuntary commitment of people with mental retardation, to people.
All right, Jim,
you know,
Jim, yeah, before we get lost in all the old precedent, which I find fascinating, but the audience might get a little bit lost on, one thing that we have to remember is that Amy Coney Barrett gets this case first. It's her circuit, but she'll probably refer it, I would imagine, to the full court. That means the whole court, in all likelihood, will vote on this emergency appeal. Given the makeup of this court, John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, what are your thoughts?
We think there's a real good chance. There's 3 justices that have already commented on Jacobson and how Jacobson is a precedent that is now antiquated because of the modern development
You're hopeful.
of rights. And yes, we are hopeful. I think that the thing is, the government has to justify forcing you to take chemicals into your body. The only time that they haven't protected the right to make medical treatment decisions has been by convicted felons incarcerated in a prison. They are the ones that only get rational review. I mean, the courts are treating IU students like they're prisoners in a prison.
All right, really quick, Jamie, why will you not get the vaccine? Really quick.
Yeah, really quick. I have a chronic illness, and my physician said that the vaccine is not for me. He said I've worked really hard to get my health back. I'm just short of a couple of recitals before I can and some exams before I become a PhD candidate. And getting the vaccine could actually make me backslide at this point when I'm actually able to finally move forward.
Well, Jamie and Jim, we're going to follow every aspect of this case, and we really appreciate your joining us tonight. We wish you the best of luck. And another dizzying weekend of violence in the Windy City. And this time, it wasn't just Chicago residents in the crosshairs. A 29-year-old officer was sent to police officer Ella French, and her partner made a routine traffic stop. They approached the vehicle, and the suspects opened fire. Officer French shot in the head. She's gone. Tonight, her partner is still fighting for his life. 2 brothers, Emonte and Eric Morgan, 22 and 21 years of age, were charged in her murder. Joining me now is John Canizera, president of Chicago's Fraternal Order of Police. John, we heard a story about Lori Lightfoot going to see the officer in critical condition and his family in the hospital. What happened when she got there?
Well, first of all, I want people to say her name, Ella French. Our city is less safe because Ella French is no longer with us. It's a disgrace. But when the mayor, against the wishes of the family, proceeded up to the 7th floor of that hospital, she was given a little advice by the officer's father, who was a recently retired CPD member. And he let her know what he thought, and he didn't appreciate her coming up there. And the officers on that floor, when she went to approach them, all turned around, faced the other way, and took a couple steps away from her. It was literally an exclamation point to the sentiment that was 7 floors below on the street level, where I was with several hundred officers. It was a very palpable, angry, resentful, just police force. And it wasn't just because of the incident. It was because the mayor was there and certain brass who have led to a lot of problems within this police department.
Well, there's an enormous amount of pent-up anger, frustration, a sense of betrayal among the officers we had a chance to talk to today. They wouldn't come on camera. Words cannot describe their emotion, but Ella French's name is a name that I'm so glad you said it the way you said it. They want everyone to know her name, given what happened. Amazing officer.
Yes, you know, she is the face of what this department was supposed to be going forward. The city's phrase of be the change, Ella was trying to be the change. And because of policies that have been encouraged, propaganded, and actually promoted by city and state officials. These criminals think they can do whatever they want with no repercussions. I will tell you, at the hospital Saturday night, a group of members made a stand, and thankfully they did. But I just left the CST unit where Ella and Officer Yanez were out of. And I spoke to a large contingent of these officers after the superintendent had just got done speaking to them. The mayor was supposed to originally be at that roll call. They told the members, the exempt members there, that they did not want the mayor there, and she was not allowed to come and speak to them.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us tonight. This is a heartbreak. We have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Lose something? Where's your face mask?
Probably in my car.
Somewhere in my kitchen.
He has no idea.
When you need your mask, you want it right where you can find it. Introducing Copperfit Never Lost Face Mask, the new ultra lightweight mask designed with a built-in lanyard that lets you lower your mask